welcome, and thank you once again for tuning in to Chaos TV. I am, of course, Chris Chaos, and today I finally am going to talk just a little bit about what happened Monday night. Now, I know I'm a week behind, if you will. Had a lot to deal with, had a lot going on, of course, being sick and all. It happens. I'm late. Deal with it. Okay. John Cena versus The Rock at WrestleMania 28. This is April. WrestleMania is in 11 months and etc. days. I knew it was coming. I knew going into WrestleMania this year that they're not going to have some big kind of thing where The Rock comes back at SummerSlam to wrestle. And we all knew that The Rock, he was going to be gone after WrestleMania. There was no doubt about that. But it's not how I would have booked this. Back in I want to say 1996, ECW, there was a storyline which morphed from an actual thing, an actual riff, kind of like what's going on here. For those of you who know what I'm talking about Tazz and Sabu. For nearly a year. Now, Tazz always says, and I called him out for a year, but it wasn't really a year. It was about 8 months or so that I remember. That's the way I remember it. Now, of course, I wasn't there, and we're probably going to remember it two different ways, but as I recall, it was about 8 months. And Tazz kept calling him out, and kept calling Sabu out, and kept, because Sabu left 1995. Tazz and Sabu were tag team champions, scheduled to go into like a three-way dance, I believe, against two other teams. I think one of the teams was Benoit and Malenko, and I can't recall who the other team. Maybe the Pitbulls, something. And this is probably early '95. I don't remember exactly the date of it, but Sabu thought, he told everybody he was going to be there. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. And then at the very last minute, he decides, well, I'm going to go back to Japan because they can give me a whole lot more money than what you can give me. And I have to do what's right for my fans over there and for my pocketbook, which I can understand, but you kind of shit on the fans by doing it. So Tazz had a gripe with Sabu ever since. So they turned it into, I guess everything probably got squared away, and then they turned it into this big thing where Tazz would come out. And Sabu was there. He just didn't answer it. And he called him out and called him out and called him out for a year. And when they finally got in the ring, it was magic. The lights go out. Team Tazz is around the ring. The lights come back on. Sabu standing in the background, pointing up like he always did and still does. And it was fantastic. Now, the way this should have gone, I think, you already had it perfectly planned out. Alright? Or you had it perfectly set up. Because The Rock screwed John Cena out of the WWE title. He rock bottomed him in the middle of the ring and handed the win over to The Miz. Okay? Brilliant. I said that's how it needed to go. The Rock needed to screw Cena for them to set up for this. Alright, what I failed to mention was, we all knew that The Rock was going to leave, and he is. I think he's down in Brazil or somewhere in South America right now promoting Fast 5, and he's not going to be around. He will probably make 2 more movies in between now and WrestleMania. But you should have had John Cena call The Rock out until like February of next year. Now I know in today's times, and I'm not saying you have him start off Raw every week or in Raw every week by going out and saying, Miz, I'm going to get the WWE title, and after that, The Rock, I want some. You bring it. You know, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you have him do it every week. I mean, maybe you go 2 or 3 weeks, you know, maybe he's in a heated storyline and he doesn't bring it up. But call him out for a year. Or for, you know, 9 months, however long it is, the 1st of September, 1st of February. You have John Cena call The Rock out, and it kind of brings in, it's like, come on, Rock. Then you'll have fans saying, come on, Rock. Why don't you come back? Why don't you do this? Why don't you get in? Why don't you do this? Why don't you shut John Cena up? And then when he comes back, the ovation that he got, and you can put this in the bank, I swear to God, this would be money. You put this on Raw, the reaction he got the night that he come back when he was announced as the host of WrestleMania, it would double it. You could do the same. You could do that show anywhere. In a smaller building, in a larger building. I mean, it's going to intensify. It's going to get even bigger and better when The Rock, if he was to come back, and when he came back then. That's how I would have booked it. And I would have probably had The Rock make like surprise appearances throughout the year just to keep it going. And that's what they need to do. They need to have The Rock do surprise appearances. I say, do a tag match at Survivor Series. John Cena and The Rock versus somebody. Now, I'm not saying don't do it for the tag titles because that would be stupid because, you know, nobody wants to see that. Well, some people might want to see that, but I don't. Now, as the way I feel about the way that they've already announced it or whatever, like it's set in stone, I think it was way too early. I like the idea I came up with a whole lot better, but then again, that's just me. And, you know, I think that I'm a lot smarter than anybody else, and that's just the way I see it, until somebody can prove me wrong. So far, nobody's even tried to prove me wrong, especially as far as professional wrestling goes. And until somebody does, kiss my ass. Now, I think it's kind of far-fetched, but I don't know how they're going to keep it fresh unless they have The Rock come back every 2 months or so and say, hey, John Cena. Maybe they just need to have him do like vignettes or pre-taped promos up until, you know, he decides to come back. That's what I would do. Because let's face it, The Rock's not coming back full time. It's not going to happen. Now, it's set. The match is made, WrestleMania 28 in Miami, Florida. Which kind of makes me excited because I've got some plans going into WrestleMania, which I will talk about in the coming months. They're in the planning stages so far, and let's just say that I am planning on having a bash. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, I mean that's just as far as I see that right now, because John Cena is here. Regardless of whether people like The Rock or like John Cena, Cena's here. And Cena's not going anywhere, unless he gets really injured and really bad hurt. Cena's not going anywhere. He's not going to just up and leave, and they're not going to fire him because he's too much of a workhorse. So, I mean, that's what you're left with. And, that's just what we're left with here. And that's pretty much all I got to say about it. So, you guys be good. I say deuces, because chaos now is out. Because I've spoken, and that's all that matters.